Hey Chris, am I very loud?
I can hear you fine.
It's fine, it's not too loud. Okay.
Now it's a lot shorter. No, then I had to go as well. You don't realize.
Jamie, we're gonna start with number 80. 80. Number 67.
Mama?
Review verse 1, 2, and 3.
Holy God, in the midst of battle we praise. With the unredeeming praise. Jesus, Lord and Lord. Jesus, Lord and Lord.
All right, number 68. Verse 71. We're gonna do verse 1, 3, and 4.
No, we better move up. You better move up. Might move up. We're gonna write down, move up. On Tuesday.
I'm coming down to get the earful.
Okay. I give you here.
They don't want to hear it. Oh, yeah. That's why I'm here.
But the closer you move, I don't feel so lonely. I may just have to move back here closer. You notice that I keep moving closer. You guys keep moving. Before long, I'll move you right out the back door. I don't know. It is a blessing. There's all these kids come up here, and they all love to talk out. You know, we have that right here and there. The music is done, and they all take off, and it's like it's empty. But it is a blessing. That's the vision the Lord's given us, and so we continue to sow into them, and they continue to bless us with not only their coming, but they're bringing families along, and so we thank God for that. Amen. And, I think it's actually got it from Durham, the cold weather coming out. I know there's a lot of sickness. I had 2 or 3, 4 calls when they were sick. We'd be here tonight. Mike had to go out to this home, I believe it said. So, you guys looking for it? Oh, yeah. Now we're ready to get into the Word of God. Amen. Let's stand for the reverence of God's Word in Acts chapter 15. It says this: certain people came down from Judea to Antioch and were teaching the believers, unless you were circumcised according to the custom taught by Moses, you cannot be saved. This brought Paul and Barnabas into sharp dispute and debate with them. So Paul and Barnabas were appointed, along with some other believers, to go to Jerusalem to see the apostles and the elders about this question. The church sent them on their way, and as they were traveled through Phoenicia and Samaria, they told how the Gentiles had been converted. This news made all the believers very glad. When they came to Jerusalem, they were welcomed by the church and the apostles and the elders, to whom they reported everything God had done through them. Then some of the believers who belonged to the party of the Pharisees stood up and said, the Gentiles must be circumcised and required to keep the law of Moses. Precious Father, I love you. I thank you for every iota of your word that you sent forth to do something in our lives so that we can see you, you can reveal yourself to us, we can know you personally and intimately, not only through your presence, but through your word. And so we thank you for tonight for both, your personal presence here and your word being sent forth. We ask that our hearts are open, you open up our ears to hear and eyes to see what you have for us, and our hearts are receptive to your voice. We're in tune to just that. We close it all to the outside world, and we say, Lord God, speak into us. Change us from the inside out. Use this word to manifest yourself in my life greater than ever before, and let me grow in your presence. I pray, Lord God, that only your will is done in me and through me and in this place tonight. In Jesus' precious name, amen. Amen, amen. I just love when we get together. And real quick before I go any further, next week we'll have a Tuesday service, Christmas Eve service, we're going to have service starting at 6. It won't be no dinner or nothing. So we'll take communion though, so we're going to break bread. We're going to take communion and have a little service. Not like I said, try to make sure I've said this. We're not going to limit God. We will get in and try to get God's word out and then be out of here by 7. But we'll see if the Spirit says stay, we'll stay. But because we're going to obey Him, but nonetheless, that's what we're planning for and shoot for. But we will be dismissing service on Wednesday for Christmas and for Christmas, and then new beginnings will be dismissed that Thursday. And then the following week, we're going to go ahead and dismiss Wednesday and Thursday, not so much for reverence to the new year. We're just going to take it to give all our people that serve here a week off, a week of rest, and then we'll start the new year the following week, the following Wednesday. So the next 2 Wednesdays we won't be having service next week, and the next 2 Thursdays we won't be having new beginnings for you to attend new beginnings. For those that ain't here, spread the word. I will announce that again on Sunday. I didn't want to announce it too quick to get people confused and not sure what this Wednesday, right? We're still here, and we're going to get into the word. And we are in Acts 15. We see that Paul and Barnabas have went through Cyprus and went up to all these cities and preached the gospel, and they made a return trip and edified the church and come back and back at Antioch, and they're here at Antioch. And we gave us a time frame last week of the year taking place from about 46 to about 51. The Jerusalem Council meets, in church history holds it, meets as early as 48 and as late as 53. And so in this time frame, they've got a couple of years. Like I said, they had them sitting in Antioch for 5 years before the Jerusalem Council. Most scholars don't hold that long, and time-wise, it don't fit that long. It's in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 years. If they've been in Antioch, and they've rested and getting filled up and refreshed and doing what they're supposed to in Antioch. And now it says in verse 1 here, certain people came from Judea to Antioch, and I don't want to go into that again there. Certain people came down from Judea to Antioch and were teaching the believers, unless you were circumcised, unless the word the King James says, except ye. The Greek is in me. It means if, which means lest or not. If, and then lest or not is me. So in is if, and then me is lest or not. So if not, in other words, a stipulation. If I say if, I'm saying if you do this, if you don't do this. The if about it, if this don't take place, if they are not circumcised, they're putting a stipulation, subjectivity for what's about to take place, are they not? They're saying they can't be saved unless they're circumcised and keep the law of Moses. It's not possible. It's the way it is. If they're not circumcised, they're putting a stipulation on it, right? It's subjective to something, subjective to what they believe, right? They believe that unless they're circumcised and keep the law of Moses. This leads us to what is the first doctrinal controversy in the early church. We saw the early church functioning in unity. We saw the early church up through the book of Acts. They've acted in one accord, have they not? Everything's been one mindset. Everything's been one accord. Everything's been in unity. Everything's flourished together. They've worked together. They've shared in blessings and joy. They've shared in communion. They've shared in the celebrating the new believers. But now they're getting the controversy arising that you must be saved by what? The law. Feeling what? Reverting right back to Judaism, are they not? They're reverting back to the very thing. You've got to keep the law perfect. And this is the same thing. This is the very same thing that Martin Luther dealt with, did he not? It's the very same thing Martin Luther dealt with in the Protestant Reformation, starting in about 1517. We're talking another 1,400 and so odd years later that he's dealing with the same thing. The very same thing, the very same controversy. The church arose, and as it grew right back to that same nature that we have to live by the law. That unless we do these things, then we can't be saved. And what did Martin Luther, and most of you should know this, so what did Martin Luther essentially say? Saved by grace. That's what he said. He brings in the book of Romans, and he staples a thesis to the wall, right up to the doorstep, and says, here it is. this is it, and you're saved by grace. And I don't remember how many page pieces it was, a big old piece, it's just on Romans. And the book of Romans tells us that you're saved by grace and grace alone. It's the faith in Jesus Christ. It's the same thing that controversies in the church, when a mindset creeps up, that so many believe that their way is the only way, and it leads to the dispute and dissension in the church, does it not? When we know there's only one way. And here, well, let me explore here myself here. I want to ask you this. What are some modern forms of legalism within the church today?
I think they say sometimes you're not baptized in water.
Right? That's a very good one. That's a very good one. There's some that believe that, and I don't want to throw out too many denominations here. The Christian church believes, is one of the denominations that believes that if you're not baptized in water, you're not saved. And I'm like saying, when I go into denomination, I'm very glad, because the Christian church right here may not believe that, again. But
Another thing they say is you got to Sabbath day.
Sabbath day, yes. Yes, you got certain ones that set a Sabbath, and it's on this day or that day, and there are different ones. You got some things that believe if you don't worship on Saturday, legalism.
That Sabbath day is better, that's what they believe.
Yes.
You
If you don't worship on, we set our days, day one on Sunday and day 7 on Saturday, and if we went by that, then I guess God rested on the seventh day. But there again, too, who said God started on Sunday? He may have started on Wednesday, for all we know, right? We don't know. Nonetheless, it's legalism. And they don't save us with maybe worship, does it? It don't save us because we're saved by one thing. Why? One thing and one thing alone. It's by the grace of God, by the blood of Jesus Christ. What's some other things to do with it? Joe's got a mind.
they believe you had to have kosher food.
Kosher food. There's some that believe you, but there's nothing wrong if you want to think it. But again, does that save you or not save you? No, it's still legalism. These are very much prevalent in the church today. And are they not the body lines? Are they not very the things that divide the church? And how does Paul address this in most of his letters? He addresses this in some form or fashion throughout his letters. But what's he saying? He says that he reiterates it. It's grace. It's grace alone. We couldn't keep the law. We'll never be able to keep the law. The law is written on our hearts. The only way to fulfill the law is through the Spirit, and the only way to walk is to walk in the Spirit. And I'll get into some of that in a moment. But the whole point is when we do these things, when we're legalistic, it begins to be a dividing line. It begins to push people out. And instead of Jesus trying to bring everybody in, and is that not what we're doing here in the book of Acts? We're going out of the mindset that it went from Judea to Samaria to the uttermost parts of the world. They went into Gentile nation, that they looked at sinners and unsavable. They looked at those that were unsavable, and they're the ones that eventually become what? The flourishing body as the church in Jerusalem began to just get lackadaisy. Did they not? And the church spread throughout, and we see more of we know there's born again Jews, but there's more Gentile believers than there are Jewish believers, are there not? It flourished in the other parts. Why? They were sinners, and they recognized the need for a Savior. They recognized the need for a Savior. They recognized their sin, and that they needed a Savior. And by getting legalistic, we push people out. Where God's trying to pull everybody in. And this is what begins to happen right here, is certain people came in from Judea into Antioch and were teaching the believers, unless you're circumcised according to the custom of Moses, you cannot be saved. And I want you to think about this. I want you to look at Hebrews 8, 7 through 13. Hebrews 8. Hebrews 8. Hebrews 8, 7 through 13. It says, if there had been nothing wrong with the first covenant, he's talking about the covenant with Abraham, and that's the covenant of circumcision. And he says, if there's nothing wrong with the first covenant, no place would have been sought for another. But God found fault with the people and said, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the people of Israel, with the people of Judah. It will not be like the covenant I made with their ancestors when I took them by the hand to lead them out of Egypt, because they did not remain faithful to my covenant. And I turned away from them, declares the Lord. This is the covenant I will establish with the people of Israel. After that time, declares the Lord, I will put my laws in their minds and write them on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. No longer will they teach their neighbor or say to one another, know the Lord, because they will all know me, from the least to them to the greatest. For I will forgive their wickedness and will remember their sins no more. By calling this covenant, I wanted 13 or 12, verse 13. By calling this covenant new, he has made the first one obsolete. What is obsolete and outdated will soon disappear. And this is one of the places in the NIV, I don't like the word they use. It's obsolete. I don't like it. The King James uses the correct word, old. And the word is phasanilismos, which means to soon disappear. It means getting old and soon to disappear. What? So with that read, and I read this, and I'm asking you this: is the law, is it done away with? No. The law is not done away with. Is it old? Yes, it's old. Where we started here in verse 7, it says this: if there had been no fault, for if there had been nothing wrong with the first covenant, no place would have been sought for another. What was wrong with the first covenant? Did God mess up?
No, they couldn't keep it.
He couldn't keep it. This is exactly why when God made the covenant with Abraham, he put Abraham to sleep. And God passed through and went through with the lamb, and the smoking lamb, remember? And he walks through. God said, I will keep my hand, but man will not be able to keep his hand. But when they make a covenant like this, when they're walking through a dead animal, split apart, they said, and they chant something along the lines of what happened to this animal will happen to us. So if I do not keep my hand of the covenant, I will be split in half, cut up, and they would walk through in a similar set together when you made a covenant with somebody. Well, God put Abraham to sleep because he knew man couldn't keep it. He never messed up. God knew man couldn't keep it. So then he said, the covenant, the law, is old, but it is not obsolete. It's not, that's why I don't like the NIV here in this word. I don't like the word it uses. It's not obsolete. It's old, as the King James says. It's old. It will soon disappear is what it's going on to do. Why will it disappear? Because when God comes back, it comes back. There'll be no need for it no more. But is the law still needed today? It's still needed today, is it not? There's two main reasons. Give me the first one.
It's a guideline. It's a moral guideline.
Okay? Moral guideline. You're close where I want to go. So that's my number 2. What's the first one?
The law is, and it's not for the ones that saved, it's for the unsaved.
It's for the unsaved. The law, first off, is for the unsaved. It's for those that don't know God. It was for all the world to see that didn't know God. Romans tells us that. Romans 3:20. You can look there, flip there real quick. I'm going to flip you around once you cross it. Romans 3:20. It says this. It says, therefore no one will be declared righteous in God's sight by the works of the law. Rather, through the law we become conscious of sin. How do we know that we're sinners if we don't know what sin is? And he says, through the law we know what sin is. We recognize it points us to the gospel, does it not? But we recognize, he goes on further in Romans 7:7, and he says, what certainly shall we say then? Is the law sinful? Certainly not. Nevertheless, I would not have known what sin was had it not been for the law. For what I would not have known what Calvin really was is the law had not said, you shall not covet. I wouldn't know what Calvin was. I wouldn't have no clue if the law didn't tell me. He's trying to. Oh, man, I knew what that means. And so the law shows us, as unbelievers, it's for the unbeliever. It's for those that don't know what right and wrong is, and it says, hey, this is wrong. And ultimately, what's the law show us? If we really study the law, it shows us the repercussion of that, does it not? It shows us how it harms us. It shows us that's what the whole book of the Bible does. It shows us when we do these things, this is what happens to you. You welcome in the enemy, or you've done this, you've hurt yourself, you've hindered yourself. That's what the whole Old Testament does, is it not? It shows us the faults and failures and how people come short. It shows their successes with God and their failures without God throughout the whole, does it not? That's why the law isn't done away with. And Jesus said that he come to fulfill the law, not to do away with it. He come to fulfill it. How did he fulfill it? He paid the price, and he walked perfect in it. He didn't fail one iota of the law. He walked perfect in the law, and then he paid the price by taking everybody else's failures of the law and took them and heaped them upon him. And said, I take all your failures and I heap them on me. So when I look at you, by my blood, you're cleansed of all them failures, all them wrongs, all them sin that you committed. All those times you trespassed against the law, it's on me. And our loving Father does that for us. And then you already touched on the second thing, brother. What is it? It's for the believer to do what? To check, to make sure we're in line with the Spirit. It's the same way. Let me put it this way. We have people all over this pew, way up here. Really, I'm here, so. I was supposed to fix them. I got sidetracked this week. It's like this. We got people in this world. There's individuals that have said, God told me that I need to go drown my kids. Honest goodness truth. And they went out to their lake or river and they drowned their kids. And they've said God told them to do it. We've seen instances of men or women leave their spouse because God told them to do it. They just get a divorce for no apparent reason. God told them to do it. We see affairs that have started because God said, well, that person's better for you than the person you got. Blinded on God. The law and the Word of God as a whole keeps us in check, that we can't blame that God, because God ain't going to contradict His law, is it? He didn't walk and fulfill the law so that we can then say that He said to break the law.
Well, God don't make no mistakes either.
No.
And people, the flesh will do you in every time.
The flesh will do it. It shows us, the law shows us if we're in tune with the Spirit or in tune with the flesh. It shows us in tune if we're walking in the Spirit or in the flesh. The law keeps us in check. As my brother said, he said it keeps us on that track. It's a place to look at and say, that don't line up with the Word of God. That can't be the voice of God. That's got to be the voice of the enemy, the flesh, whatever it is yearning to walk out and do what is not right before God. And so this is why the law is important. This is why it's not done away with. It's old in the sense that it is of old and it was made in old, but because man broke the covenant, it can only be fulfilled and walked through what? By the blood of Jesus. It's the only way we're going to keep the law.
But at the time of Abraham, he didn't have the law.
No. Right. But he had the law of circumcision.
Yeah,
And
he did have.
And that's where, right.
But there's other stuff he
And
didn't
then
have.
he didn't have the rest, but he was still counted righteous even without the accordance of the law. Why? Because his heart was right with God and he trusted God. But at the same time, the law of circumcision, that's why we're starting with Abraham. And then you have the law of Moses, we get the commandments, and then you go to Hebrews that. But at the same time, he tells us the law is written on our hearts. Hebrews 10:16 says that And he says, this is the covenant I make with them. After that time, says the Lord, I will put my laws in their hearts and I will write them on their minds. This is where the law is. It's written here. It's put here. It's spoke here. But at the same time, man, because we live in a fleshly body, man begins to do what? They begin to justify their actions. They begin to speak things and say that God said this or that, and it ain't of God. And so they like check back and they can look back at the law. Circumcision. Why is circumcision not considered then when we get into this controversy? Everybody, we're clear why the law is and why's not. So then why is the controversy arising now? Because we're talking about the law of circumcision. Why is the law of circumcision now? Why is that such a fight if we're saying that we're in check with the Spirit?
Well, the thing was, that was the covenant with Abraham, who has to show that they were part of the covenant. And God himself, he couldn't get nobody else any higher than him. So he made the covenant with himself. So that's why he could never break it, because he'd be breaking his own word.
And it goes a little deeper. Why else? Why else? Why else again? Why can we look at, and we talk about the law, why can we look at the law of circumcision and say, hey, you don't got to be circumcised? If I'm sitting here, I'm preaching to you, we check ourselves by walking by the law, it checks us. Why can we stand here, because we're going to get in here and they're going to say, well, the Gentiles aren't going to be circumcised. They're going to have nothing to do with salvation. Why? This is exactly what he says. He even told them this, Jeremiah 4:4. Circumcise yourselves to the Lord. Circumcise your hearts. You people of Judah, inhabitants of Jerusalem, or my wrath will flare up a burning issue. Are not the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the inhabitants of Judea, aren't they circumcised? Absolutely. They're circumcised in the flesh. What's he looking for? It was a sign to do the very thing. He's cutting away the flesh and relying on God. It was the physical manifestation that he had given to God. We now have a spiritual manifestation that we've given it to God. He circumcises the heart. He's cutting away the flesh. It's the heart that he circumcises. We're still receiving circumcision as born-again believers in that moment because it's a circumcision of our heart. It's saying I'm going to be led by the Spirit. I'm going to allow the Spirit to talk to my heart. I'm not going to allow the Spirit to talk I'm going to allow the Spirit to talk to my heart, not the flesh. We talked about this. This is where God talks to, is your heart. Most people think here, when it comes to God, he speaks here. But we can't listen from here when we're not right with God, because our flesh still has the say. But when we get right with God, he cuts that away, and we think and we hear from right here. Well, this is where he begins to talk to. We move it from here to here. We'll be some pretty smart fellows, wouldn't we? Most of us, we just keep it here. Well, is everybody with me? Does it make sense? I'm giving you a lot, but these are things that some people don't understand. And that this is why we got, again, legalism. It's I had this guy tell me one time, and I know he likes a lot of stuff on our page and Facebook, so I don't know if you listen to this one. I like that. I hope not. But there are individuals that say, you don't preach the Old Testament. You don't do it. You don't preach the Old. And it's like, you can't get to the new without the Old. There was a reason we went through the Old. It points us that we need a Savior. It points us to what not to do and how, it points us, there's things we do, and there's things we shouldn't do. I mean, we know how David excelled and how David was prosperous. It was when the moments he walked with God and talked with God, but he failed in the moments when he acted in accordance with the flesh. We know that as the patriarchs, we know it through every one of them. When they walked with God, they prospered. We know it was Israel. It was all to paint us a picture why we need a Savior and what happens when we heed to the Spirit and walk in the Spirit. And it all pointed to that. And and he come in and he said, now I'm going to make this individually, I'm going to circumcise your heart. I'm going to get the fleshly thinking off of it so you have it, so I can talk to you and supersede the flesh. But again, what does it take? It takes allowing him to talk to the heart. It takes getting out of that fleshly thinking. It takes getting out. What's some of the best ways to do it? Yeah, the Word of God. Spending time in fellowship with those of like precious faith. Talking about the Word of God. Talking about what God says, not what man thinks. This is why legalism creeps in. Man says this, man says that. No, God says this. God says that. You know, God says take a Sabbath. So I'll take a Sabbath. When? One day a week to rest. And I'm going to do what? I'm going to assemble, I'm going to gather, I'm going to worship. That's what I'm going to do. That's what he says to do. Is it going to be Saturday, Sunday? For me, it's Sunday. Well, my day doesn't mean Sunday, runs usually Monday. Not so much lately, but that's usually my day. But you know, we're to take a day of rest, right? And so that's not because he said beating us over the head and saying it's again so that we can stay refreshed. We're not battered and bruised. What happened? We talked about this. It's chaos. It's wearing out. It's tearing you down. That's when the enemy comes in. That's when the flesh kicks in. That's when anger flare up. That's when hatred flares up. That's when these things flare up. These are the moments that we just can't think straight, right? I mean, if I'm thinking straight, I don't have a temper. It's the moments that I can't think it straight and I'm bombarded, and then all of a sudden somebody says something, and I say something that I shouldn't say. You know what I'm saying? This is why there's a way to ride. And it's all, he puts it in there, but when we get that broken out and cut down, I gotta move on, but this is what he's talking about. We're still taking the act of circumcision, but it's not the circumcision of the heart. He even, like I said, he's pointing to it in the old, that this is what's coming. He's saying you should be understanding what I had Abraham do in the beginning. It was a sign to get rid of the excess flesh. It's a sign that you surrendered to me and you're giving it to me. And that's what it was. It was that they were set apart. One of the acts, we talked about water baptism, that's one of the physical or public acts we do to say that we're set apart, is it not? That's why we do it. Water don't save us. It's the physical public act that we're set apart.
Well, we're fighting the old man still yet. We haven't got rid of him completely, and he'll show up if you let him.
Absolutely. There's one thing that will make no mistake about. As long as we walk in the flesh, we'll always battle the flesh. The more in tune with the Spirit, it's easier to overcome the flesh. The less in tune with the Spirit, the lot harder it is to overcome the flesh. But if we're in tune and we stay strong, stay built up on the most holy faith, then it's easier to overcome the flesh. It's easier to get rid of that temptation and heat the Spirit. It's easier to walk with God. It's easier to get up and pray in the morning, is it not? It's easier to get up and just sit with Him. If the flesh don't want to. This is what He tells Peter in the garden, isn't it? The Spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak. The exact words Jesus used to Peter. Why? Because he was wore out and tired. He just wanted to rest. It was the hour that the enemy come to do what? Sift him as wheat. It's exactly what he's wanted Peter. He's come to sift you as wheat. He saw the call on Peter's life. He saw what Peter was about to embark on, and he wanted to stop him. And that's so. Wear you out and get you tired. And so anyway, I wanted one other thing. I want to note. When it comes to the law, there's quite a balancing act, is there not? Maybe I'll let that. Let me go on. Let me go on. Verse 2 says, it says, this brought Paul and Barnabas into sharp dispute and debate with. Why did Paul and Barnabas? Why are these two? We know that Antioch, these two are kind of down the chain a little bit, right? Because remember, we got some elders here in Antioch. We were talking about them. They're the ones who laid hands on and sent them out. Why are Paul and Barnabas so outspoken about this? Why are they the ones that are rising up and they're the ones fighting tooth and nail?
God said He's going to put out a new contract. That's a new contract that He's dealing with.
Right.
Paul and Barnabas, nobody else was
right. But yeah.
I think it's because they have so many Gentile believers believers coming on
They
board.
were so personally
They
invested.
won't make it any more difficult for them.
Right. Absolutely right. They were so personally invested in it. I mean, it's like if George, I was the one that you know, I preached the word and George come under my wing and I'm teaching him and then they're coming and they're attacking George. Well, I take personal investment in him. I'm the one that was there when I saw him truly give and truly surrender. I see his heart for God. I see that he is truly a man of God. And so I'm going to stand here. I'm going to fight for him. You're telling him you want him to live over here in this law and the very law, and, you know, you want him to be a slave is what Paul writes here, and we'll get there in a few moments. But they're personally invested in him. It's personal. That's what happens when a body of believers is unity. This is what happens when a body of believers is one mind, one accord, is they stand together. And that don't make George perfect, but what makes George right is Jesus. What makes me right is Jesus. What makes Paul and Barnabas better than the other guys? These guys are from Judea. They're supposed to be the who's who, right? But no, what makes them so much? Because the Spirit of the Lord says, and the Spirit of the Lord says, we got to fight together. We got to stand together. There's one man that paid the price, no one else. I'm not any better than you. I'm not any better. But I know this. Jesus paid as much for him just the way he was. Amen? And so they were personally invested and they stood together. And this is what separates so much the early church from the church today. They're willing to give up on the very thing that just says, one mind, one accord. It's Jesus. It's all about the blood poured out on Calvary. It's him dying and resurrected. He was God incarnate. He put on the flesh, and he died on a cross and resurrected 3 days later and sits at the right hand of the Father today. It's mediating on our behalf. That's it. We can talk about, you know, us Pentecostals, us tongue talkers, we love talking about the baptism of the Holy Ghost, but that ain't going to get us into heaven, is it? No. What gets us into heaven, simply put, is the blood of Jesus. You don't want the baptism of the Holy Ghost, you miss out. I'm not going to argue with you about it. You lose out, not me. Not me. You don't like it? Well, then, you may not like heaven much. I don't know.
That's the thing, though, the churches battle over such idiotic doctrine that the difference in doctrine.
It is.
No,
It is.
Or it doesn't really all that money more to the Gentiles, like all of the contract that God paid for.
Yeah.
They didn't want to give it up.
They didn't want, because they wanted
They
it for
wanted to
them.
give it, they wanted to give it for themselves.
And that's what I say. When we look at what, oh Lord, when we look at what Martin Luther done, that was the very thing that the Catholic Church at the time, they want, and Catholic means universal, they were the church, and they got to the place where there is nobody else. It's us, and if you don't worship with us, you don't worship how we worship. If you don't do what we do, then you're not going to heaven. And anybody listening out there, that may sound like I grew up Catholic. I know. I'm not belittling nobody, and I'm not talking about that's the way it is. It's the way they believe. That's the way I was raised. If you're not going to Catholic church, you're burning in hell. Period. And that's the exact same thing. It's the same thing we saw the Jewish nation fight that the early church grew into. This is why the Protestant Reformation had to happen.
Yeah.
And it became so
They
important.
didn't want the rest of them to get in on it.
They didn't want
I just want to keep it for themselves.
I think it points back to Paul's conversion or the vision. I mean, Paul's vision of what God has called plans, you know, and God accepts, and it's showing it's not through man's work, but through Christ's work on the cross.
Right.
And like you said, he had invested, he had many souls to get gotten saved, and he saw the work of God in those souls, and with the vision there that God was working in them, to say that everything he did in the past was not considered legit because they weren't going for the law, but change
Yeah.
is change. It's not what man has done to
Right.
change, it's what God has
Right.
done.
And there's a lot of, I mean, when we look at it, and I like you brought that point up, when we look at it so oftentimes, and you see, we see it today, it's so prevalent, you see a marriage that comes together and you know, it ain't working out, and you see the one say, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna change. And, you know, maybe in some situations they do change, things that do change, and the other times they don't. But nevertheless, it's just them changing. It's not that they're changed, they just changed, right? They just changed their attitude, and they changed the way they attack things. But that really don't change who they are. Being born again changes who we are, does it not? This is what he says. The old man is dead, and there's a new man under it. He's bringing us back to his creation, essentially. He's bringing us back to the very thing that he created us to be. Where the flesh, from the beginning, you can watch a baby's mentality and they pick up what the very first things they're taught. And the more they learn and the surroundings, that's why we have so many different people that they're just different, are they not? And you go to different areas and the area seems, if they're going up there, that's a group of people similar, right? Because they grew up in similar surroundings, they grew up in similar atmospheres. And you go over here and they're completely different. But what is it? It's their atmosphere, is what they picked up, that's what they've been taught. That ain't essentially who they were created to be, it's who they've been taught to be, right? You got something?
It's a long process in there. I mean, they're talking just over here now. I don't think it's an act, it's going down where you get with Gentile believers. They have to take, put no other further weights on them at this time
Yeah.
than to refrain from fleshly love
And I was going to get.
yeah, food sacrifice.
Right. Yeah, and I wasn't going to that particular scripture, but we're going to go to Galatians, we're going to talk just a little bit about that if we have time. But yeah, but it's a thing that they grew up, and it shapes us, but essentially what God does, He comes in, and a born again believer, they're changed. That person is not the same. We are not the same. And we're doing it born again. And like I said, Paul and Barnabas, they're going to speak up, they're going to fight for it because they're invested in these individuals. They're invested in the Gentile believers. They're sold out. And he'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. I'll go there. But so Paul and Barnabas were appointed, along with some other believers, to go to Jerusalem to see the apostles and the elders about the question. Who appointed them? Who appointed them? Who confirmed them? Yeah, those that were in Antioch, we already read about them in the previous. They're the ones that sent them out. They're the ones that laid hands on them. They were still there in Antioch working, and were elders, were leaders there. And so they sent them on to be spokesmen. And what better people, right? The very ones that are got investment in the Gentiles to speak up for the Gentiles and the work that's been done. And so verse 3 says the church sent them on their way, and as they traveled, they went through Phoenicia and Samaria, and they told how the Gentiles could be converted. And this news made all the believers very glad. This news made the believers very glad. They traveled throughout, they're just traveling on to Jerusalem, and they're stopping in these cities, and what are they doing? They're sharing with the rest of the believers, the rest of the church. Hey, look, over here is an area, and they've all come to this group of people are believing on the Lord. And how exciting, how awesome, and they rejoiced with them. The Bible says what? When one rejoices, we all rejoice. When one mourns, we all mourn. We are, that's what unity is about. That's what it's about. And so they're rejoicing together. And verse 4, it says, when they came to Jerusalem, they were welcomed by the church and the apostles and elders, to whom they reported everything God had done. Who are they reporting to? Who's the apostles here? Peter, not James. James died. Remember, he got the head. John's here. Peter and John. Yeah. Peter and John. Peter and John are two of the apostles here. We don't know who the apostles are. They may call all the other apostles in. We don't know. But James got the head. We remember James got the head. James was the head, by head. And so, yeah, James is essentially not there. But there's also a chance, you know, that they appointed another apostle. And we don't know that. We do know that remember that was the first thing they did when they got to Jerusalem waiting on the promise was Judas is gone, so they appointed another apostle by casting lots and Matthias, if I said that correctly, and he was appointed, and so maybe they've replaced him at this point. We don't know, but nonetheless, James is not there. But other than that, all the apostles might be there, but we do know that Peter's here, and this is probably most likely, and I'll tell you why here in just a moment, but this is probably a private meeting. This is probably a private meeting with the leaders of the church. This is not probably a church meeting. This is probably a meeting with the apostles, the elders of the church, and Peter and Barnabas, or Paul and Barnabas, I'm sorry. Paul and Barnabas. This is probably a meeting with just them. They probably sat down, they're probably saying, what took place? What happened? What's your side of the story? What's going on outside of Jerusalem? What's going on out here where you've been? What's going on in Antioch? Tell us your side is probably what's going on. And then verse 5, it says, then some of the believers who belonged to the party of the Pharisees stood up and said, the Gentiles must be circumcised and required to keep the law of Moses. We know that the Pharisees, there was more, we know that Jesus had more, it seemed like had more run-ins with the Pharisees than the Sadducees, did he not? But we also know that the likes of like Nicodemus, he was inquiring, he wanted to know. We don't know if Nicodemus became a believer, but he inquires in John 3, I think it's John 7. Later on, he even stands up for Jesus and says, are we going to condemn a man without hearing him first? And so here, Nicodemus is pretty quick to stand up for him. And so that maybe he is a believer behind the scenes, we don't know. But the Pharisees had one thing going. They believed in the resurrection. They believed in the resurrection, where the Sadducees didn't. And so with the Sadducees, you start talking Jesus resurrected, they're like, that ain't even possible. The Pharisees may be like, well, and then maybe start inquiring. Well, so there's a chance that more Pharisees come to know Jesus through the time of the resurrection and afterwards. But we do know there's some here that are believers, and they're evidently probably elders of the church. They're probably leaders in different churches in the area, and they're now believers, but they stand up here and they begin to say they need to be circumcised. And and required to keep the law of Moses. And so now we've got this dispute that arises. And here we meet the first moment of Reformation in the church. The first time that we really see doctrine lines being set. What we got to do? What we got to make it where everybody's understanding what God wants. We got to make it where people need to know what God's desiring of them. Well, here's the thing. The book of Galatians is said to be Paul's first letter. The book of Galatians is written to the Galatian church. Now, where Paul and Barnabas just went, where they just traveled through, Pisidia, Antioch, and Seleucia, and Iconium, and Derbe. This area was the area of Galatia. It made up what the Roman Empire had labeled. They had different territories, and this was the Galatian territory. So this first letter is written to that area, the very first place that his first place that they traveled, the first missionary journey. And so he writes a letter to them. And it's believed to be his first letter. This letter is to be written approximately the year between 51 and 53. Now, There are three different takes on that. Though. Some people believe that he wrote it later with the Book of Romans because it's so closely tied to Romans. Most people have him write it earlier. But when we look at the book of Galatians, and I want to take a few minutes to look at it because there's very important parts that we can pull out of here to show us that it lines up with. Go to Galatians 1. No, go to Galatians 2:2. Yeah, I'm going to go back to 2:1. It says, then after 14 years, I went up again to Jerusalem. This time with Barnabas, I took Titus along also. I went into response to a revelation and a meeting privately with those esteemed as leaders. I presented to them the gospel that I preached among the Gentiles. I wanted to be sure I was not running and had not been running my race in vain. So you get Galatians 2:2 and go back to 1:18 too also. We got 14 years later, and Galatians 1:18 says, then after 3 years I went up to Jerusalem to get acquainted with Cephas and stayed with him 15 days. I saw none of the other apostles, only James, the Lord's brother, and I assure you before God this story is true. So we got a 17-year time span. Okay? Are you with me? We have 17 years, 14 years and 3 years. Does that give us time if we're in the time frame of 51 to 53? When did Paul's conversion take place? Some of you may have it in your notes, and some of you may not. We talked about that.
I know where it was, but I don't know what date it was.
Church history holds that it took place in the year 33 to 36. 33 to 36. Stephen's martyrdom, remember previous chapters, took place in the years 34 to 36. Even if we go the latter 17 years, puts us at what? Year 53. The earliest year would put us at 51. So it fits in time, does it not? If our time frame is correct, it fits in this time. This is one of the things we can check. Church history helps us check and follow timelines to see where these are. This book of Galatians is the earliest manuscripts they got, date as early as the year 175 to 225. That's the earliest manuscript they got. So, which Paul's letters, they got a few earlier than that. But Galatians is said to be the first one by the writing style, the shortness of the letter. It's not as short as letter, but it's the way it was written and what it addresses. He goes on here and he tells us about a private meeting in 2:2. Like I said, most scholars, it points to us a private meeting. To tell what? Think about the meeting when he's endured. He's coming into this meeting and he's saying, look, the Gentiles, I've been preaching to them. I want to make sure this ain't in vain. I want to know that because George is a sinner out there in the world, that he's a bad guy, that he can still be saved. I didn't waste my time, did I? He's presented this before the others, right? This is one of their private meetings, is saying, hey, he may look different, but and he may not be a Jew, but at the same time, I got to know that I'm doing right too. So this lines up, does it not? This is one of the ways we can line up if it fits in time frame when we got scholars point to this. And he goes on in 2:2 here, and he says, I went into response to revelation and meeting privately with those esteemed leaders, I presented to them the gospel that I preached among the Gentiles. I wanted to be sure I was not running and had not been running my race. Yet not even Titus, who was with me, was compelled to be circumcised, even though he was Greek. See, here he's saying, I brought Titus along. He's a Gentile. He ain't circumcised. Why is he bringing that up? Because that was one of the things, that's the biggest complaint, is about him being circumcised. He don't feel compelled to get circumcised. And so who better to bring? One of your trusted guys, if you've raised up, and he can speak for himself. If I want George to speak up and say, I got something against George, tell him, show him, George, tell Joe. Tell him how you feel, you know. So he brings him along to make his case. It makes perfect sense here to line up in this time frame. And verse 4 goes in, this matter arose because some false believers had infiltrated our ranks. False believers have infiltrated our ranks to spy on freedom we have in Christ to make us slaves. We go back to Acts 15:1. Certain people come down from Judea. Who's the certain people he's talking about? The false believers. Those that they claim to believe. What does the enemy try to do? What's the best way to break up unity? Get right in the midst of it, does he not? When he sees something come together, it's the first thing he does to do is get in the midst of it, and he tries to create discord amongst it. Such and such said, such and such done, such and such this, such and that. That's his play. That's what he does. To create discord in the midst of unity. And this is, I mean, if I'm going to go break something up, I'm going to get right in the middle of it. I don't break up a fight by standing over there and saying, hey, quit fighting. I'm going to get right up in the midst of it. You get right between them. And some way it's going to stop. You tell them, quit fighting with Joe. You ain't going to listen to me. Right? You might start a fight. But false believers. Well, the Jews at this time, this is a very thing that they wanted to do, was infiltrate the church to cause discord and dissension in it. And so what better way to become as false believers? Those that said they believe, but they really don't believe. They're just there to get, how can we dispute this? How can we break this up? How can we turn them back to what's right? Well, turn them back to Judaism. Is that not essentially what they're doing? By being circumcised, you mark yourself a Jew, right? And so that's what they're essentially trying to do. When God brought this in, the two churches merged here in Theodosia. The first thing they had to deal with was this right here. You had one church sit here, one church sit over here. It was for months. Sam was one of the big orchestrators. He said, "You got Patty." He said, "Patty, from now on, let's start sitting on the other side." I mean, just that simple. And he started that. But the very first thing the individuals done, they didn't really care and didn't want to see the unity. The very first thing they done was went behind the scenes and say, "Hey, did you know such and such said this and that, and such and such, and the pastor wants to do this and that, the pastor wants to do." It was just the attack of the enemy from what God just brought together to try to divide it. Now, if we do what? Don't faint and don't grow weary and press on, then we'll endure. And when we endure, we will win. And we won one battle along the way. It's just one of many that the enemy will try. But it's his attack. And this is what he's doing with the early church. God began to move, God began to do something, he said, the only way, again, what was the whole point of speaking in tongues? God in one accord. What's the whole point of speaking the language of the Father? It's nothing's impossible then with man. When we're in one mind, one accord, nothing's impossible. And so, break that up. Stop it. He don't want it. He wants the power. He wants the control. But when we've got all the power and control, then he does what he can to break up the unity line, make less power and control. And so he continues on here, man. I'm trying to hurry. But he goes on, he says, this matter arose because some false believers infiltrated our ranks to spy on the freedom we have in Christ Jesus. We did not give into them for a moment, so the truth of the gospel might be preserved for you. And I like this, verse 6. As for those who were held in high esteem, whatever they were makes no difference to me. God does not show favoritism. They added nothing to my message. He's making a statement here. He's saying, yeah, I went here and I told them what all was done, and it didn't matter what they said because essentially I knew the message I preached was right. I respect them and I hold them in high regard. God shows no favoritism. He gave me the message to preach to them, and what it don't. There's nothing here. I've done it, but at the same time, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. At the end of the day, I know what I'm doing was right. It's what he's trying to get across, and so I like this. And then we go on. You can go through all the way through that, and you can really see how it lines up with accordance with the move here in Jerusalem and what's taking place. But I like this. He goes into 3:1, and he says, "You foolish Galatians, who bewitched you?" So in these couple of years that he's rested here, he's got word back. He says, "You foolish Galatians, who bewitched you? Before your very eyes, Jesus Christ was betrayed and is crucified." He's saying, before your very eyes, I showed you by the signs and wonders, by the things that I've done, by the things I spoke, by the things I showed you, Jesus was clearly portrayed as crucified. I would like to learn just one thing from you. Did you receive the Spirit by the works of the law or by believing what you heard? What was the thing they fought along the whole time when they were traveling in Galatia? The Jews tried to kill him and stone him because they were upset and mad because they were winning converts to Christianity, to believe on Jesus. They were winning converts, and the Jews then are going right behind it, trying to undo everything they're doing. This is why they're turning around and walking the circle. Now he's turning around and sending a letter before. So in other words, what the Jews started here and with the Antioch is just something they've been doing the last couple of years in Galatia. They've been up in Galatia and they're going, all right, okay, you believe now. But the only way you can really be saved is go back. And then he's saying, look, did the law save you? You saw what I just preached. You saw the works of the Lord. It didn't save you. It was His Spirit that saved you. It's His Spirit alone. It's it. It wasn't the letter of the law. I didn't come to preach the law to you. I come to preach Jesus to you. And so in this time frame, the Galatians have, in a few short years, it didn't take long. It don't take long for the enemy to get in and do a mess and create a mess if we're not trained up. If we're not trained up. And I want to take you one other place, Galatians 6. And this was for Bryce. This is right where I'm going. 6:2. Let's start there. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you can fulfill the law of Christ. If anyone thinks they are something when they are not, they deceive themselves. Each one of you should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone, without comparing themselves to someone else, for each one should carry their own load. Nevertheless, the one who receives instruction in the world should share all good things with their instructor. 6:2 tells us this. Carry each other's burdens. Carry each other's burdens. 6:5 said, for each one should carry their own load. For each one should carry their own load. Now, see, this is one of the places the enemy, he likes to twist the word of God. This is one of them oxymoron moments, ain't it? One of them moments where God says one thing and over here it almost contradicts itself, does he not? Is he contradicting himself? No form or fashion, is he? He's saying you should carry each other's loads. You should carry each other's loads. As Bryce said, the Word of God teaches us, we're not to throw more on somebody else. We're not to throw more weight on somebody else. We should help them carry their burden. This is part of unity. This is part of being one line accord. If they're struggling with something, then I don't beat them over the head and say, why do you keep screwing up? Why don't you walk this way and do this and throw more on it? Hey, you're doing good, George. But you know what you need to do? You need to do this, and you'd be a better Christian. And this is throwing more on there. And he's saying, no, I should be carrying his burden. If he's struggling with something, I'm going to help you overcome it. What is it I'm going to help you overcome? I don't know, but I'm going to help you if you need help. This is carrying each other's burdens. This is what he's trying to address. It's not throwing more on top of somebody. This is what they're doing, is it not? This is what we're talking about. They're just saying, hey, jump through another hoop, jump through another hoop. You're not religious enough. Get more religious. Just be more like Jesus in this way, in that way, in this way. Instead of letting the Holy Spirit do that, and you just help them and nurture them and grow them along. That's carrying each other's burdens. But then he goes on in 6:5 and he says, each one of you should carry your own. In other words, he's saying, what is yours, if you're failing there, you've got to own it. You've got to carry it. You need to know when the Spirit deals with you, speaks to you, you've got to be the one that gets it off and gets it to Jesus. You've got to carry it to the cross. You've got to be the one that does it. You can only make that choice. I can stand here all day long and say, I need to do this or that, and George can help and drag me along. But at the end of the day, it's not. We're talking about kids. At the end of the day, it's theirs, is it not? It's their choice. We can't save them. We'd love to save each and every one of our kids today. Anyone that has kids, we want them saved today because we don't know what tomorrow brings. Jesus may be back in 15 minutes. We want them saved right now, not tomorrow, not the next day. We want them saved. But we can't carry that burden. We can go along and we're going to help carry it, but at the same time, it's not ours to carry. We can help. This isn't a contradiction in the word. This is Paul trying to reiterate. Look, if they're wrong, then let that be between them and God. But don't be putting more on them. Bring them to the Lord and show them and help them carry it. If they are wrong, then help them get it off. Don't throw more. Don't throw more. That's where this is why legalism and religiosity doesn't work. It's because all it does is heap more on somebody. All it does is tell everybody how you're wrong instead of saying he's right and bring him to the one that's right. It takes everything and says, you'll never be right. No, he's right. And so if I go there, I'll get right. It's bringing them there. You with me? This is what he's trying to get through to the Galatian church and trying to get through to those that are teaching them, is understanding. You want to get them right, just help carry the burden with them. You don't got to point out all the places they're wrong. Just bring them to Jesus and let him do that. The Holy Spirit. Let the law be written on their hearts. Let the law be written there. Just let him deal with that. And you just show them what God says. It ain't about, it's not. It is not about getting religious. It's about just let them have a relationship. Let the Spirit go with them in the marriage. This is why we got to train up our kids. This is why we got to train them up. So that they go into the world and they don't make the same mistakes. Because they don't even desire to make the same mistakes. They just want to walk with the Lord. Right? Amen. Anything else, guys? Anything else?
If them kids don't get a foundation, they've got not the whole building fall.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the vision they want. Let's lay a foundation and let God deal upon it. He's done my work. He's started great work.
Well, it seemed like me, like the spouses that got hot, how married, that stuff like that. And when you start like putting like ands on it, like believing Christ, the sacrifice, and you're saying it's marginalizing. It's actually altruist, I think, to the perfection of the sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because the animal sacrifice is just like they took away
Right.
that one sin.
Right.
But it's actually saying it's Christ has given that beauty and
Amen.
I see a verse, there was a verse when I used to go to people that come to church, and in the youth group and try to get them to come more. And we were teaching baptism was mandatory. And there was a verse that sounded a lot like that. I mean, I wouldn't want to think that, but I was trying to remember what the verse was, but it's like, and,
Yeah.
it's like Christ's blood is good enough.
Right.
That's and.
Right. And there's a lot of, I remember I was saved for I was hesitant to because I'd already been water baptized. I mean, I hadn't been immersed, but I said, yeah, foot on the head. I was, yeah, because I was baptized at birth. And so I was kind of hesitant because I thought, well, I've already been baptized. I didn't really understand baptism. I understood about the blood of Jesus, but I didn't understand what baptism was. So I was kind of hesitant for a couple of years. And I remember one of my friends, a real good friend, goes to the Christian church, still does this day, great guy. When I got baptized, he's like, "Oh, this is the greatest day of your life." And I thought, of course, I wouldn't argue with him. I wasn't about to, but he looked at it as the moment I got saved. That's the way he saw it, and that's what they believe. There's another church. It's a Second Baptist, I believe, Third Baptist, 20th. I don't know what's the Baptist church. I'm just joking. It is a Baptist church. Them in the Baptist church won't. I mean, we tried to have some youth events and youth things together, and they all said, "We'll work with you, but we won't work with that church, the Christian church, and that one individual Baptist church. They wouldn't work together. Would not do it because doctrine issues just like that, and they wouldn't have nothing to do with each other. Wouldn't sit in the same room. The two pastors would, but they never spoke to each other. So
I'm here to tell you, you don't get saved by one of that.
As a church, I was too, and it's like, I remember when I baptized, the day I baptized,
right.
There was one verse that said, repent and be baptized and you shall be saved or something.
It's
Is it something like that?
yeah, and then we know that
That's John Baptist saying that.
right, John's preaching that in the Woodlands, yeah. Again, he's baptized at this time. Remember, this was a time of Jesus, and this was one of the places of conversion. This was one of the places that the Gentiles were becoming proselytes, Jewish converts, and then of course they'd be circumcised afterwards. But water baptism was the initial step. Then Jesus was water baptized, both being a Jew, and there was other Jews, but it was also for Jews that maybe had walked away from the faith and not believing in God. So there's a lot more to that than people understand. He's preaching that to bring them into the fold. So that when Jesus, because he's getting the fold first, we know it goes to the Jews first, right? It was offered up to the Jews first, and this is why the kingdom of God is near, and then Jesus said the kingdom of God is at hand. And so, John the Baptist preaches that, and then we know that there's a couple instances in the book of Acts where we saw at Cornelius' house that they go get water baptized after they speak in tongues. But nonetheless, he says, what none should hinder them from water baptism, Peter says. And so I do believe that it's a very important step. I think we should do it. I'm not believing in water baptism. I believe that we should follow what Jesus said. But I also believe it's just a public proclamation that we are saved. Because, again, salvation takes place on the inside. And no man knows that until you make that public proclamation to the world. And that's saying that I'm following Jesus. I'm laying down my life with him to be resurrected with him. And so it is a very important step. But I don't believe that saves us. I don't believe that. I do believe we should follow water baptism.
I think that verse wasn't right. It was later on.
I didn't think that. I think I didn't believe it. It did say in the book of Acts once, and we probably already read it, and I don't remember exactly where. But I'll look at it and I'll get back with you. But it is spoken, and there are people that build that doctrine around that. But again, I wouldn't. It's not.
I don't want to believe that.
No, I know, right? I know, but I know what you, and I just know that they by saying somebody has to be water baptized, that takes away from somebody laying on their deathbed and crying to the Lord at the last minute. And I believe there's a lot of people saved at that last minute. A lot of people that are saved and they didn't have a chance to get water baptized. And that is going on the cross. Is a perfect example. These are, and some will dispute that because Jesus says today you will be with me in paradise. In paradise, it can be that word, don't necessarily mean heaven, you know, and so, some will dispute that and fight you tooth and nail, but that's an example. I believe the guys in heaven with Jesus, and I would not, I don't want to take nobody out of heaven, you know. At the end of the day, their salvation is between me and God, and mine is between me and God, and yours is between you and God. And so I don't want to take nobody out. I knew a pastor, I heard him preach a while back, and he placed a lot of people in hell. He said, "Oh, I know that guy went to heaven." I'm like, whoa. I wouldn't want to do that because you don't know what their last breath, they may have saw that coach coming or whatever. I don't do that. And even, you know, that's innovative from one God. And I believe if we start saying that way, but I do not think that when somebody comes to me and says, should I get water baptized? I'm going to say absolutely. I believe you should. I believe you should. Okay. I talked too long.
God doesn't make us judge people.
No, yeah, no.
You gotta judge yourself.
He's the judge. And again,
You're not who's.
We're our own judge. The way the scripture says that we choose our own faith, we choose to accept Christ. You know, Jesus, when he talks about him being judge, but he said himself that he didn't come to judge, but he came to give life. And a lot of people say, talk about, you know, the judgment day, you know, because of God. Well, actually, our own actions will either
right.
put us in the mercy of Jesus or it will hurt us. And help whatever.
Right. And you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, it's us. And yeah.
We're not judging, we're fruit inspectors.
and yeah.
And you know about our fruit.
I do believe that I have seen at least one person say when he was baptized. I believe that's possible.
Thank you.
That I've seen a young man that when he was baptized in water, I think he was saved pretty quick right in there. Because
You don't think he was saved before he went to water, but as soon as he get. Okay. Okay. And
you know, when you receive the Lord, when you give everything to the Lord, your life to the Lord, that's when you're saved.
that's it. Yeah. And it may have been in that one.
I believe it was. So when I said a while ago, you know, I know that I wasn't saved when I was baptized. I didn't want everyone to think that you couldn't be, because I believe I have seen that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, and you know, people's asked me in the past, I've had parents come to me, should I baptize my kids? I say you need to let the kid decide when you think that they've got the mentality to say, well, I dedicate them to the Lord by immersing them in the Lord. Yes, I will. I'll dedicate any kid who's engaged. But ultimately, when we start talking baptism, then we need to explain to them. You understand that you're laying down your life. Who you are is got to change. Who you are is that God. Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Savior? If they didn't reach that mentality to understand that, then it's a dedication. It isn't. That's you saying, I'm going to train them up the right way.
I've noticed that when this way churches off, there are a lot of different churches.
Right. Right.
And I've noticed when they're off a little bit, you know, baptism.
Yeah.
The pronunciation change. Got tie. It's, if you ever heard words, they made almost two words of that tie. So, yeah, it sounds.
I don't know. I guess I would really want to place.
Right. You know, they send that word baptized. Share something on them. Not getting out the way they do it. Baptized people.
I don't know. I've never been in there.
That was supposed to say it.
No, there you go. Maybe something you picked up on. I don't know. But nevertheless, it's, again, a realistic nature that we thought of here. And it's by the blood of Jesus. It's it. It's it. And, so, these are good. It's been good tonight, as always. Anything else? Okay. Michael, we're going to anoint him with the word and pray. Is it all right? Okay. He had cancer before, and they think he's come back. He went to the doctor today, and it's back. They took a CAT scan, or CAT scan, yeah. And they're going to get the results. But we're going to believe no matter what's going on, or they think there's a possibility of scar tissue from the cancer before. We'll pray that it is. If it is cancer, we're going to pray for healing too. We're going to pray for both. Well, either way, he'll be healed in Jesus' name. Okay? We're going to pray for that. We're going to pray for Mr. Marlene, Kathy, they're sick, Uda, Uda, she had stroke. It's on her whole right side. Last night, they put her in the nursing home. I found out last Tuesday that she had a stroke, and then Friday I found out that they were looking for a nursing home. Just getting bits and pieces from that. Wow, I had a lot to good information. I forgot that. And then Sister Josie's sister, I believe, needs some help. Her daughter she's got mental problems, and it's like 70 years old, but is in bad shape. Her sister's having a hard time taking care of her stuff, and needs some help in that regard. Oh Lord, there was a bunch. Riley's sick, and yeah, she was sick. I don't know. I'm missing a bunch, but I know there's like 4 or 5 more. But I forget about them. Yeah, some of them look down.
What about Mike? What's that?
He got called out from work. Mike had, yeah, he got called out from work. Yeah. So he texted me and said he would be work. Come on. But you have something? Okay. So Mike, come on, and if you guys want to help me, we'll pray over him. Any other needs, just pray along with me. You can see my head's kind of right now, and so we
Magic of that. Yes, it's on Netflix. It's a high one.
There's enough here. We thank you for your spirit as you come. We seek your face and your face. We never will you'll pay your healing price. Lord God, there's nothing that can separate us from that. We've got enough belief. So let our faith, that we stand in the gap right now. And all this cancer, if it's welled up again, it's gone in Jesus' name. Whatever it may be, we're hearing for a great report from the doctor. We're believing that it ain't the cancer, but Lord God, if it is, there's going to be a testimony to your power and your authority and your overcoming blood that you shed on Calvary. By your stripe, Michael is healed. By your stripes, the healing has been paid for. By your stripes, we receive it tonight. Let our faith be so and stand right now on your word, which is true. But so it be done, accomplished, and finished. In Jesus' name, we receive that, declare it, and believe it over him. From the top of his head to the sole of his feet, I cleanse him right now in Jesus' name. We take hold of the promise and declare it as yes and amen, and we rejoice because we've received it. It's done. It's finished. Let your will be done. Let it be seen and heard, and let the glory be seen in Jesus' name. We know this, Almighty God. It's the beginning of a great testimony. Michael's too young. Michael's too much of an impact. And there's too much you have for him to do to be down and out. And so right now, he's set free, and who the Son sets free is free indeed in Jesus' name. And every word spoken out of his mouth will be just that. I'm free. There's no cancer. There's no disease. There's nothing that's going to hinder me from doing the will of the Father. He brought me here. He brought me this far. Not to leave me nor forsake me, but to serve me ahead and to make me his living testimony to who he is and what he wants to do. Oh, precious God, we thank you for it. And we receive that precious promise. Amen, amen. Lord, my God, I praise you for this thought. I praise you for this time. I praise you for this moment. I thank you for the healing power that you set forth. I thank you for your word tonight, which is true. It's by your blood and your blood alone that we're saved. We've been redeemed. It's by your blood and your blood alone that gives us access to the throne room. And it's your blood and your blood alone that gives us access to the power of the kingdom of God. And so every promise of you is obtainable. Everything that is a promise for the kingdom, everything that's available in the kingdom is ours to have. And so we receive them tonight because of you and you alone, not by works. I don't get it because I'm good enough. I don't get it because I serve you. I don't get it because I get it because you are God and you love me and you paid the price so I can have it. And so tonight, Mary, send forth to all those in need. You've heard every prayer request. You've heard everyone that's in need. And Lord God, you've heard those that we've been spoken throughout this week that have been asking for prayer. We stand with them, stand unified, and stand in one mind and one accord. You have paid the price for healing over sickness, over disease. And so we plead their blood over each and every individual and the promise of the healing that's been paid for over them, and let it be received now in Jesus' name. I thank you for your word, and I thank you for your flock that believes it and stands and says we believe it, and we stand in the gap and say the enemy, you're not taking the promise because it's ours, and we take it and receive it today in Jesus' precious name. I thank you, and you get all glory. Amen, amen.
Best hand lotion there is. Hey, baby. That's the There we go. You did get it. Hey.
I go to the one in Mount Level, I like.
That'll be something.
Yeah.
Joe's fine. Joe's a big guy.
Joe's good, he's funny.
Hey, catch it.
I don't have one.
She's still cute. I just. Is that what you want?
Oh, I'm gonna say, I thought you, I'm like, how'd you get her? I just seen her out there. Hi. You get it? Like, not yet.
I voted off the catch before. Yes, actually did. Tuesday, no, Monday, she was going down the couch. She usually just like kind of like crawls down the couch, but then, right, no, she like slid down the couch and hit her head.
Oh, no, I don't know. She's just getting bunched, crawling everywhere.
See, I got 4 grandsons. I want grandsons.
Oh, yeah.
Like, God said, no more for her. She's ready for grandsons.
Yes.
So,
Oh. Well, he can maybe. Yeah.
you have a grandson? No, one. Yeah.
Say, yeah, I do. Yours is my turn.
No, no.
Ready? One time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did this and she said bye bye Tyler.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so there
see?
she goes, yeah.
I did this, then she said bye bye Tyler. My turn. Come on, try. 1, 2. My turn. Let me try. Try. Actually try.
She just pulled my neck. I didn't cut both. Put yourself up.
I did. No.
Very nice.
Oh, she is still here. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,